Hello everyone, you're welcome to this edition of The Inside. I am Babla Jonathan. Today we are looking at how Cameroon is governed. Many opposition leaders, right defenders, civil society leaders have been raising concerns about the manner in which public affairs are managed in the Republic of Cameroon. Some are talking of very poor leadership for the past close to or more than 4 decades that the president of the Republic, Paul Biya, has been in power. Others are talking about cacophony in the governance mechanism of the country, and others are talking about inefficient, ineffective leadership in the country, while those who are close to the president of the Republic are talking about an excellent leadership by the president of the Republic, Paul Biya. We're looking at this and the issue of coalition. There have been calls, Cameroonians calling for a coalition of opposition political parties to unseat President Paul Biya in 2025 to bring about the much talked about change in Cameroon. Stay with us and meet our guest in some few seconds. Our guest today is NJANG Denis TABE. He's an entrepreneur, national president of the Popular Action Party, the PAP. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Mr. Babila Jonathan. Greetings to all the viewers of Equinoxe. Greetings to all Cameroonians. And more especially to all members of the Popular Action Party who are everywhere watching now. It's my pleasure being here. I'm so happy that once more I am given opportunity to share my own point of view in terms of making how our nation is governed and bringing back our institutions to the level at which everyone will feel Cameroonian and feel belong.
Since the first ever Congress or convention of the Popular Action Party, we've not heard very much about the PAP. How is the PAP faring today, especially looking ahead of us, 2025? The presidential election?
Yes, I don't think we have not been very active. It is true that events are done based on the circumstances that surround the situation at the particular moment. Yes, since on the 21st and 22nd of June, this 2024 at the Boya Mountain Hotel, Boya Parliamentarian Flat, yes, we had our national convention where we came up with some resolutions that those resolutions were resolutions that was like our roadmap for us to follow to accompany us to the 2025 presidential election. Yes, amongst the resolutions, the bureau was revoted. The national bureau was reinstated by the members of the council and those of the council of the wise, and we planned to intensify voters registration. We talked of targeting our militants who for some time were cut off due to the socio-political crisis affecting the 2 regions. So it was a means for us to indirectly and directly get in touch with our militants. And above all, we talked of a unique candidate from west of the Mongwana, from which was our own option that we proposed that if there should be any unique candidate, it should be, and like I'm going to call it, politically an Anglophone candidate. So those are some of the key resolutions. So throughout this period, we have been working on the background to ensure that some of those resolutions are realistic, and that's what we have been doing. And I'm happy that as of the 28th of September 2024, we saw the conference, our press conference held by the Popular Action Party, where we were privileged that more than 20 political parties and civil society actors and organizations present in Yaoundé here finally bought such the ideology that we all endorsed, and we saw the endorsement of Barrister the Bâtonnier Akere Muna under the banner of the party Univers. So it was what we have been working on to answer your question, that the Popular Action Party has been doing a lot on the background, sensitizing, making sure that we get in touch with our members that for some time now they have cut in touch with us, and I'm very, very happy that in all the nooks and crannies of Cameroon, especially in the English-speaking zones, the Popular Action Party is waxing stronger and stronger.
Let's talk about how Cameroon is governed. There's been much talking around this issue of recent, prompted by what you people qualified as cacophony around how communication was done on the whereabouts and the health situation of the President of the Republic, and so on. So we want to look at how Cameroon is governed today. In your opinion, what do you think about how Cameroon is governed?
Well, those of us who have been into the political limelight, I think it is not today we have been criticizing the poor governance of the country. Some people say it's for 40-something years since the inception of the new deal government of under President Paul Biya. It has been catastrophic. I think I also go in line because when we look at the past, from the Aijo to Paul Biya, the present president, you will realize that in terms of the economic boom, Cameroon has actually redressed, and the regression of the Cameroon economy has to do with poor governance. And in terms of our institutions, because I think if we want to start evaluating the poor governance of the present regime, it is, I don't know how long we are going to take. It's going to take a long time, but with a few, let me just be very brief, because if you look at even a level of governance, let me tell you, this Cameroon is the only country where we have the entire government mechanism, ministers and director generals arrested and locked up for charges of what? Corruption and embezzlement. I've never heard that in any country. From the prime minister, former prime ministers, former secretary generals, former ministers of state, minister of education, director, uncountable. They are in the prison because of what? Corruption. And we ask ourselves, have the corruption been reduced? No, it has skyrocketed because of what? Poor governance. Our institutions are held. It has been held captive because power is centered on an individual. An individual, there is no separation of power where the president, which is the head of the executive, or let me say, he manages not only the head of the executive, the head of state, who should be accountable even to the judiciary and as well as the legislature, but everything is centered on his hand. Even our other institutions that manages other supportive organizations, such as our elections, our electoral commission, everything is the head of state that manages and is the one that controls. So if he doesn't, at times it becomes so difficult for him to give an account, to him to be accountable to any of those institutions, because everybody there is somehow handpicked by him and being appointed right at the level of the Constitutional Council. Coming back to the present scenario that we are facing, look at our country now. Our country has been held hostage, not because we don't have the right people or the institutions are not there to manage what has to be done. It is because the institutions have been paralyzed.
What do you mean by the country has been taken hostage? By who?
I said the country has been held hostage by some individuals, or let me say because of what? The institutions are so weak, because the institutions are the men. We have stronger men who are above the institutions. For example, this is a situation that you just said. A head of state who has been out for close to 45 or more than 45 days out of the country, who in a normal sense, the head of state is elected by the people and he serves the people, not the people serving him. In a normal country, it is very, very normal for the population or the people who voted him to know his whereabouts. If he is sick, it is their constitutional right. If you see ministers who's called ministers, who are supposed to be servants of the people, don't even know their own function, their responsibility, will come out with communicate some threatening the population or the people and even the media not to talk about the health of the head of state. No, that's pure madness. Because then you said you that minister, it is an indirect information that you are telling people that the head of state was not there for the people. He has been there all this while for himself. And we are not questioning the name President Paul Biya. We are not questioning Paul Biya. Many Cameroonians are questioning the health and the whereabouts of their head of state. President Paul Biya incarnates an institution. So it is that institution. So if we have stronger institution, as of now, they would have been declaring or they would have been giving us feedback of what is happening. If it happens that he is incapacitated or his health condition has deteriorated, that he cannot assume his function, at this juncture, Cameroonians were supposed to be aware and we know the next steps to take. That everything is just like in cloud. Nobody knows the next step, what to do. Nobody is even aware. Even his own ministers are not even aware of the whereabouts of their own president because they are not even updated. Most of them don't even know.
The civil cabinet of the presidency of the republic said that the head of state is in Geneva, is doing well, excellently well, and going about his duties. But another question that came up from that is, should the president of the republic be going about his duties in Geneva instead of Yaoundé, where the institutions of the republic are established?
That is where the problem now lies. Let me go by even those institutions that incarnates the authority to even notice or are the ones to notice the vacancy at the helm of the state. Let us start with the National Assembly. Even the person who incarnates that institution, look at him. He is even absent. He's nowhere to be found. We don't even know where presently where he is now. This is where we need the parliament to start acting. We need people, the parliamentarians, to start agitating. But everybody is quiet. That's the institution that is supposed to notice and write to the Constitutional Council that they have noticed that is a vacancy at the helm of the state. The person who heads it is even appointed by the person who is not even present.
But the circumstances that warrant the president of the National Assembly to talk about a vacancy, we are not in those circumstances as spelled out in Article 6.
Mr. Babila, from every indication from the communiques that we have gotten, if someone who incarnates, it's very normal, if you are not at your job site, where you are answerable and paid for that job, elected to be in a job, for even take a month, there should be a problem. And if they cannot tell us what their problem is, it means that you have abandoned the job. Automatically, there has to be a vacancy. We don't need to know what is happening. If you have more than a job time for more than a month, not to talk of 45 days, no matter where you are working, and you are not even in the country, that they can even know whether you are in the country, they don't even know you are whereabouts. We don't even know where you are whereabouts. Some say it's Geneva and so forth. Good. If we were even a bit convinced and they show us that he made a speech and said, this is me in Geneva, yes, I will be coming. Up to date, nothing, no sign of life, nothing. From every indication, we don't need a soothsayer to tell you that there is a vacancy at the helm of the state.
Are you saying that the statement of the director of the civil cabinet of the presidency of the republic, the statement from the minister of communication, government spokesperson, even within the CPDM, we have the communication secretary of the party, the minister of higher education, Professor Jacques Famendongo, who spoke. We also have the deputy secretary general of the party, Gregor Wona, minister of labor and social security, who spoke. Are you saying that all these people, all what they have said, I think in a serious country, all those ministers are even supposed to resign.
Are you saying that all what they said are not credible? They are supposed to resign because in a serious democracy, they don't even love this country. When you say our head of state is fine and carrying out his duties, what disturbs you? Even when Mobutu, I followed Mobutu's history, even when Mobutu was really sick, and he stayed out for a couple of days until the people of the Congolese were already agitating that there is a vacancy. He showed himself. He was in the hospital. I think it was in Lausanne. He came out in the hospital and they videotaped him, recorded him his speech, and he assured the Congolese that don't worry, I am fine, I am this. But if those ministers would have even come out with that communique, accompanied by even what is at this juncture, we are in a world of the digital world. Don't stop the head of state to say yes, I am, even make a speech and assure Cameroonians. If anything short of that is pure manipulation. It's pure manipulation, and it's an insult. It's an insult to the intelligence of Cameroonians.
Cameroonians are normally supposed to believe the authorities, are normally supposed to have some trust in the authorities. The director of the civil cabinet of the presidency of the republic is not just anybody, but the high authority of this country. The minister of communication is a high authority of this country, as well as the others who spoke. Are you saying that Cameroonians no longer trust the authorities?
Of course, Mr. Babila, trust goes with proof. Trust goes with evidence. What was the explanation that when the president left here, I think that was on the 4th of September, they gave a rundown of his program that all Cameroonians were expecting to see. He was to go to China. From China, the summit in China, I think he was to attend the UN General Assembly session. From there, I think the Francophonie, and then he was to attend another business session in Germany, I think in Hamburg. Immediately after his appearance in China, of course, they showed us. So what was the reason that they gave? That they never saw, Cameroon never saw their president in the General Assembly, UN General Assembly in New York. What reasons did the so-called ministers give that their president, Cameroonians were unable to see their president at the Francophonie when he was announced that he was supposed to be there? What was the reason? Up to now, they have been quiet. What reason did the so-called ministers tell Cameroonians that they give an information that the president will be present in the economic summit in Hamburg, in Germany, and he was absent? What reason? So all those things, no reason was given, and you come back and still tell Cameroonians that this person is fine, he's going on with his duties. The duties that took him out, nobody saw him carrying out the duties. And you are telling Cameroonians he's fine and no, but let us be serious. I think going out there, it is a waste of taxpayers' money, because staying out with no information to Cameroonians, it is, that's why I say all those ministers, they are not serious, because they were even supposed, if we had strong institutions, I think those ministers need to be questioned, or they stay quiet and let Cameroonians take their responsibility, because it's a pure insult. The worst is even the Minister of Territorial Administration. How can you come out with a communique? People voted, institutions are there to protect and guarantee the interests of the people. It's not there to protect the interests of individuals. If those institutions are no longer functional, or the people heading those institutions are no longer functional, it is very, very incumbent for Cameroonians to question those who are heading the institution.
So Denis, yes. When we look at all of these, we need to put our finger where the problem is. Is it an issue of incompetence? Is it an issue of lack of political will? Is it an issue of some kind of egocentric interest? Where is the problem?
The problem lies in bad governance, as you just immediately highlighted. I talk about powerful institutions and not strong men, because at this juncture we don't expect the ministers to say otherwise. They were appointed. I do not blame them. If they are playing their role, they were appointed by an individual through his discretion. But now we have competent institutions who are put in place by Cameroonians to help build a nation. We have the Senate, it's in the Constitution. We have the Constitutional Council, and we have the Assembly. That is where my problem is. The ministers could say anything. They have to protect their interests. They were appointed by their boss, which is the president. What happens to those institutions that are assigned or are mandated to carry out their duties? You cannot tell me that the head of state has been out. Do you know the impact of the present situation, what Cameroon, both the socio-economic and political impact, that as of now, the head of state is not in the country, everything is in a standstill, because even it affects even our economy, because even so-called business tycoons, business people who want to carry out some business transactions with Cameroon, and they are afraid. Even people, international institutions that were willing to maybe disburse financial assistance to the state of Cameroon. Most of them are, everything is in a standstill. Nothing is moving. So that's why I said, for the ministers, I don't blame them. It's very normal. It is the president's discretion. He appoints his ministers, and you don't expect the ministers to go. But look at the assembly. That is where our parliamentarians, where are they?
If they were to respond to you now, they will tell you that the nation is functioning excellently.
Mr. Babila,
nothing is on standstill.
Mr. Babila, everything is on a standstill. That is where is our parliament? Parliamentarians, everybody has gone muted. Nobody is speaking anything. That is the road. That's where parliamentarians need to start, because the executive, the parliamentarians are there to control the actions of government, and including the head of state. That's what the parliamentarian. The Senate. Let me even ask the Senate president himself is already a question mark. He don't even know his own whereabouts. The Constitutional Council, because those are competent institutions that, if the ministers, whether they say, well, those are competent institutions mandated in the Constitution to carry out and contest if there is any cacophony within the circle of government or the governance of the country. But everything, that's why I said we are stuck. We don't know where to go. We don't know what to do. The Constitutional Council, the head there, he said, we don't even know his whereabouts, the person heading that council. The National Assembly, we don't even know if he is fine or not. I mean, the person heading that institution. The Senate is another problem on its own. So that's why I said, at this juncture, Cameroonians need to take their responsibility. We of the opposition, we have done our best by sensitizing Cameroonians, telling them it is the right of Cameroonians to request the whereabouts of their president. It is their constitutional right, and they have the right to request. And if they don't see their president at a particular moment, they have the right to even march to the National Assembly and request for the National Assembly to do its job. That is them to write to the Constitutional Council that there is a vacancy. Mr. Babila, there is a vacancy at the helm of the state. That one is nothing that
Mr.
we are contesting.
We shouldn't be task of or
it is my right as a Cameroonian. The president, they said the president, when he's voted for everybody, be it opposition or the people of the CPDM. So it is my right to notice that there is nothing more, there's nothing working. And I don't even, the worst is that no hopes. Nobody is even saying anything. The last time, he will be coming this week, he will be coming this. No, that's not how a country is governed. I think it is taxpayers' money that's being wasted with no accountability. And out of the country, Geneva has become the new capital of Cameroon.
However, we are not calling on anybody here to take to the streets.
No,
we are not doing what some will call incitement to violence. That's not what we are doing here. We are simply talking about the fact that the country is governed in a way that is not acceptable to many, like Denis and his friends of the opposition, who have been crying out loud.
It's our constitutional right to request the whereabouts of our
raising concerns about the state of the country. And so, when you people talk about inefficient leadership, ineffective and inefficient leadership at the helm of the state, what exactly are you referring to? What is not effective? What is not efficient in the manner in which the country is led from the top?
Yes, I think, like you said, I love that word, from the top, because there's a popular parable word that says, for you to notice, for a fish to start getting rotten, it starts also from the head. I think the person who has been at the helm for some time now has ruled the country like his personal property. He hasn't ruled the country like for the people. He hasn't ruled the country like he's there answerable to the people. It is like for himself. He decides what to do when. He's not questioned. He's not accountable. At the moment where Cameroonians need somebody who guarantees that unity and security at a particular moment, he's always absent. I want to talk of the multiple, you just made a good question. What actually is the problem in terms of governance in our country? That's where the problem now lies. Our institutions are weak.
All right.
Yes, our institutions are so weak where an individual has hijacked the nation. If we had strong institutions who control men, we wouldn't have found ourselves where we are. It is because an individual has hijacked all the institutions where everything is in his palms. He controls almost all the sectors. He appoints everything. All the institutions are not even those who are supposed to be voted are indirectly appointed by the individual. So that is where the problem, that managerial, because I get a particular time, even if you ask a mayor or a parliamentarian from the ruling party about his project for his people, what he will start telling you is that, like what the head of state says, he has nothing to say. He will not give you any tell. I'm telling you, you need to see some of their campaigns. I'm talking about a parliamentarian who is supposed to be answering to the people at a level of the constituency. A mayor who is supposed to be working for the interest of the people at a level of the municipality. He will tell you that based on what the head of state, and even when they are doing their campaigns, they put on a uniform of recipient carrying the head of state and passing message of like what the head of state says. And when you start looking at people who are even elected by the people, are supposed not even knowing their own right. They don't even know what they are supposed to do. They know that whatever they are doing, they are pleasing by an individual. That is right from that bottom, we start seeing that cacophony. So that is how things are being. And with the hyper centralization, it's also a problem. That's why most of us, we are talking about what? A federal republic where power is in the hands of the local entity. This hyper centralization where the administration is centered on a particular zone, the capital, where it is not. You want to construct a mayor who cannot even construct a small market in his area until Yaoundé says this. So those are some of the issues where we are facing the consequences today. Weak institutions, and we have stronger men who are stronger than institutions. That's the consequence.
Let's go to the newsstands, and we're looking at what the newspapers reported this week. This is the press review. The Voice reports that the United States ambassador to Cameroon and the apostolic nuncio to Cameroon and Equatorial Guinea have urged peace through children's voices in Cameroon's 4 conflict zones, including the northwest and southwest regions. Cameroon Tribune projects the United Nations appraisal of the reconstruction of the crisis-stricken regions. On the front page of the Horizon, English Cameroon for a United Cameroon Civil Society Organization says President Paul Biya is not an institution, but an office holder, and not the office itself. The Voice, the Social Democratic Front, SDF, strategizes for 2025 at its National Executive Committee meeting. The Sun says the party's national chairman, Honorable O.C. Joshua, is set to pick up the SDF ticket for the 2025 presidential election. The Guardian Post qualifies Dr. Chi Asafo Cornelius, Secretary General of the Bilingualism and Multiculturalism Commission, as a community benefactor and a nation builder. The Ultimate reports the demand of chiefs of the Kupe Maninkuba Division for the extension of the University of Buea by establishing the Agriculture and Veterinary Medicine Faculty of the university in the division. The Median reviews that 60% of women diagnosed with breast cancer in Cameroon die, according to a study, as a result of late diagnosis, unreported and untreated cases. Another issue of the Guardian Post highlights the joint effort of the Chantal Biya Foundation and the ICT University to combat the spread of HIV/AIDS in schools. And we wrap up with Newswatch. Forsaken Buea Referral Hospital Project. Mayor strikes government. Governor shifts blame on Anglophone crisis. The paper highlights the Predator's great return to MMA, making reference to Francis Ngannou's battle against Renan Ferreira. Thank you for staying with us. We are still with our guest, NJANG Denis, TABE, National President of the Popular Action Party. The English Cameroon for a United Cameroon Civil Society Organization says President Paul Biya is not an institution, but an office holder, and not the office itself, because people have been referring to him as an institution. What's your take on that?
I think I also did a similar write-up on my Facebook in line with what you just said. I think that was in response of the outing of Minister Paul Atanganji, and I think it is very timely, because even myself, I came up with something on my Facebook. I tried to counteract the outing of Mr. Atanganji, that President Paul Biya incarnates an institution, and if Cameroonians are vying or doubting the whereabouts of the president, they are not doubting the whereabouts of Paul Biya as a person. They are whereabouts about somebody, the whereabouts of someone who incarnates that institution. So it's the institution that gives the person that power, which means that if he is today, if he steps down and is no longer at the helm of that institution, many people will not have time to know about his whereabouts, whether he's sick or not. I think that is what the interpretation of the outing of the English Cameroon for United Cameroon. And I think I saw many other political key actors also came out. I think Madame Kawala, Barrister Keremuna, many of them came out to caution the outing of the minister, that it was not.
When the president is seen as the institution, not as the office holder, but he is seen as the office itself. What's the impact of that on governance?
That is what I just earlier said. That is where our problem now lies, because at this juncture, everything was centered everything was centered within the armpits of the president. He decides what to do. He decides who is to occupy what. Everything is around him. And this is the aspect where we of the Popular Action Party, and even with the coalition, that's why we have been vying for what? An effective federation. Or some people call it effective decentralization. It's still federation. If we had an effective federation and then we revamp our institutions, we wouldn't have a situation that we are facing today. The bad governance, the poor management of the country, the situation that we are finding ourselves today, it is because individuals have hijacked our institutions, where they have taken the institution to be more stronger. The individuals have been stronger than even the institution. Because you can see a whole minister who knows that he is a servant of the people. And if he's appointed by the head of state who was voted by the people, most of them will not come out with funny outings, write-ups, communiques, and counter-communiques, trying to caution Cameroonians to be very careful, not to have a debate on this, not to talk about this. I think that is today we are facing the consequences of having strong men than strong institutions. I believe that a new Cameroon, a new face of our country will be coming in 2025, where Cameroonians will feel belong, where there will be an accountability of leadership. The leader will be accountable, and those who intend to govern even at the local level, because the syndrome has passed in such a way that even right up to right down as the level of mayors, they have still inculcated that attitude, where from mayors, parliamentarians, appointed governors, DOs, most of them have, they say the example is from the head. Most of them they are taking themselves to be more stronger than the institutions themselves that they incarnate. I think that is what we are struggling to see, how it has to put an end to that, so that Cameroon can be properly governed.
What do you think about the idea or the school of thought suggesting that not only elected and appointed officials, but all Cameroonians have to put their hands on deck, have to put in their own contributions for the achievement of the vision of the head of state, the vision of the president of the republic?
Cameroonians.
So that's where all these statements of on high instructions, on high everything, and so on.
So no, I think Cameroonians have over, I think Cameroon is one of the most peaceful and understanding country where I've seen their citizens, they swallow any nonsense. Yes, I think if we gather experience from other countries, there are things that what Cameroonians bear, what Cameroonians tolerate, countries, neighboring countries, even in Africa, don't tolerate. It is true that Africa in general, they have a problem of leadership, management, but there are some aspects where some countries can never tolerate the excesses of some of their leaders, especially what we are experiencing in Cameroon. Cameroon is unique of its kind.
But President,
we have Cameroonians have given.
You know that it is often said you are an entrepreneur,
yes,
and you certainly have some people that you're employing, but you are the vision bearer. You are the one who is carrying the vision, carrying the company with the other people who are working with you, and certainly you expect them to key into your vision, to support, to put in their own efforts at their little levels to ensure that your vision is a success. Shouldn't that obtain at the national level for the nation, talking about the people and the leaders, the people and the head of state?
Meaning that, I think to answer your question, then from every indication, action speaks louder than words. If today, after 42 years, the vision that you were to put in place and you claim you have put in place for people to accompany, and everything is in the opposite, who do we blame? The people or the leader? It means that the leader was just saying things, but nothing, you had nothing to accompany with action. So if all what he said, moral rigor, moralization, rigor, integrity, and whatever, fighting corruption and all that, and today all what he ever promised Cameroonians, he talked about grand realization, grand ambition, what I don't even know, there are so many grand, right up to date. We still have the autoroute, just how many kilometers, 200 and what kilometers from Douala to Yaoundé is still incomplete for 10 years. Corruption is at the height. Under his leadership, Cameroon has won more than 3 or 4 trophies in corruption as the most corrupt country. So who do we blame, the people or the leader? In terms of economic development, we see have most of our government, parastatals, or even government state enterprises, most of them are on a blink of collapse. Most of them have been privatized because the government is unable to handle and so forth. So who do we blame? We talk of unemployment. That one is an alarming stage where we don't even know. So will you blame the people who you said, because you are the one that choose the people to accompany you? And if there has been some issues where all what you planned as a heaven for your people, everything is on the opposite, what happened in a correct country? The president just says, I am unable, and he tables your resignation and you go. But since we are in a country where there's cacophony, he is still there, keep on, and you still see some of his people see they are taking an advantage of the laxity, of his laissez-faire way of doing things. Everybody sees him as somebody who speaks and there is no action that is accompanied by what he says. I think since 2017 or 18 like that, or let me say 20 if I'm not mistaken, most of his speeches he has been saying, we will intensify corruption, we intensify the fight against corruption, we actually intensify arrest and all the like. But since the COVID-19 scandal, where we had 180 billion has been, we don't even know, no accountability, where even at the level where the Supreme Control Edit and have even come out with reports, and it up to date is still a level of where so many of his ministers were guilty of corruption charges. Up to date, everything has been blocked, nobody has been touched, and so forth. So even the so-called CONAC is just to give a report. All the reports of CONAC, everything at the level of the president, everything you give a report, and he is the one that decides what has to be done when. So I cannot blame his people whom he has appointed. I blame the person who appointed the people, because there have been no roadmap that has been put in place. There have been no rigid follow-up to ensure that these things are put in place. And every year, when he follows his speech, he makes us to understand everything is okay, and so forth. Even with the multiple crises that we're facing, especially the Anglophone crisis that just needed a simple dialogue to end the situation. Look at where we find ourselves.
He's
So,
been talking about the things that are working. He's been talking about the things that are working right,
in a nutshell,
and the challenges that the country is facing.
In a nutshell, Mr. Babila, the person who is solely responsible for the bad governance, for the deteriorating situation of our country, for the laissez-faire, corruption, and everything that is the head of state himself.
All right.
Nobody should be held responsible.
I had a discussion.
It's the president, Paul Biya himself.
I had a discussion on this issue of how Cameroon is governed with two personalities, two officials who are close to the regime. Professor Elvis Ngole, who is a political scientist and a member of the Central Committee of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, and Egor Ringo, who is the CPDM Momo West section president. And let's listen to what they had to say on this issue. Professor Elvis Ngole, you are a political scientist, former member of the Cameroon government. You've been involved directly, and now we can say that you are involved indirectly in the management of state affairs. What do you think about the way this country is governed today?
Well, I'm very glad, Mr. Babila. That's a very broad question, but it's good that we, first of all, for the public, define what government is. Government is that institution, that public institution of a sovereign country or of any organization, in our case, that institution of the country, the sovereign country of ours, which has the responsibility for governing the country. And governing the country has to do with the system or the framework that is called governance. Governance, by its own Latin definition, means how a country is led. Gubernare in Latin means to lead or to steer. So, governance is the ensemble or the arrangement or the body of rules, laws, institutions, and actors that are working together to ensure that the country or the organization is governed. And government has, or governance in general and government in particular, have as objective to ensure that the country or the organization is united, to ensure that the country is stable, to ensure that the country is, and the people, that there is security, to ensure that the people who are citizens of that country are taken care of in terms of their welfare, and to ensure that the country as a country satisfies the needs or prevents and manages conflicts and ensures that the country continues to be stable, united, in peace, and that the people continue to progress.
So, Prof, is that what is happening in Cameroon?
Yeah, that's why I'm beginning with that. This is what is happening in Cameroon, and this is what happens in every country, every sovereign country, and this is what happens in every organization that cares to have about government.
You must have heard politicians, notably those of the opposition, saying that Cameroon is poorly governed. Some are even saying that the country is not governed. There is no leader. Some are even saying that the leadership is ineffective, inexistent. And you must have heard the cries of Cameroonians groaning under poverty, hardship, misery, increasing cost of living. So what is your response to all this?
Well, I beg to differ with the opposition. Yes, I agree with you that there are problems, challenges, amongst which are things like poverty and some of the ills that we have. But that does not mean that because you have these challenges or these problems that there has been no governance or that governance is poor or that the government is not doing its job. No. If people decide that they want to be bothered by or be interested in what they consider to them as the whereabouts or the state of the President of the Republic, that's their business. But from what I know, 30 million Cameroonians, this is a non-issue.
Ego Ringo, you are the CPDM, the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement CPDM section president for Momo West, Njikwa. Thank you for accepting to talk to us. Now let's begin from your political base. Your people in Njikwa are raising concerns about the state of their roads, supply of electric energy, potable water, and so on. You, as the section president of that part of the northwest region of the country, what do you have to tell them about this situation?
Well, thank you very much. I want to first of all thank the President Paul Biya, who loved the people of Njikwa, because the feasibility study we did for the Njikwa road, 1.5 billion was given. And we also want to thank the Minister of Public Works, Emmanuel Njumisi, who also fought to see that the progress of that road should be done. And we started the route by feasibility study, and we thank President Paul Biya, who gave the money 1.5 billion, and out of a sudden some confusion came up within us, the elite of Momo division, and we are trying to rectify the situation.
Some of your people listening to you now will be asking the question, how soon should they expect to see the solutions to their plight?
Well, it is clear that actions speak louder than words. As we are talking, our people are working. It's just that sometimes in business, you don't give your agenda to people. But I want to guarantee you that the road must be done, and we'll have electricity soon in Njikwa.
All right, let's open up now on the national scene to talk about the way Cameroon is governed today. You must have heard opposition leaders saying that the governance of the country is very poor. What is your take about how the country is governed? What do you think about the governance of Cameroon today?
Well, what I want to say is that a father is a father. We have President Paul Biya, who is the President of the Republic of Cameroon, and he has been doing his best to see that everything moves smoothly. Each and everyone has a part to play. One single hand can never tie a bundle. Nothing is perfect in life. All these fingers are not the same. And if you want to compare the fingers that are the same, you will never have it. He has done his best, and time will come that the Almighty God will call him, another person will come. But what I know is that we should believe that when a father is at the top, let us work to collaborate with the father and to see how we can succeed in life.
Welcome back. Those were interviews of the week. Denis, first of all, Professor Ngole thinks that the whereabouts and the health of the head of state is a non-issue.
Well, it boils back to what I was saying. I'm happy that as a CPDM and a former minister, if he tells Cameroonians that the health or the whereabouts of the head of state is a non-issue, it only boils back to answer what we have been saying here, that Cameroon has never been governed. Because if Cameroon has been governed, a former minister will say the whereabouts of the head of state is a non-issue, meaning that he is very fully aware, together with his other colleagues, ministers, they are very much aware that for the past years, 40 years, that for the helm of President Paul Biya, he has been an absentee president. They themselves know that Cameroon has never been governed, because a country has been governed, you feel the impact of the absence of the head of state, and people will request. When you hear the section president saying, like what I even said, that the country is not even the poor governance. When a section president will say, when you ask him about the poor nature of roads in Njikwa, and I think that area we have Njikwa, we have Ngi, those are the areas that I think are here. If you ask him about the poor nature of roads, he starts telling you about the president of the republic. for thanking him about the poor nature of his roads. Is it a favor for President Paul Biya to give good road network as he claims? Is it a favor for President Paul Biya to provide school? Is it a favor? It is an obligation, and that is where the governance system functions. Where a leader sees himself as a master, and whatever he does to the population sees it as a favor, not as an obligation. And that is where you see him saying we thank the head of state, and that is where we talk about poor, wrong governance.
There are many Cameroonians today who are expecting to see a very strong coalition of the opposition political leaders to bring about the much talked about change, notably during the 2025 presidential election. A number of coalitions have been coming up here and there, and the last one is the one bringing together parties like Univers Political Party, the Popular Action Party, and others who are presenting international lawyer, anti-corruption crusader, fighter for good governance, Barrister Keremuna, as the person to bear the flag of that coalition. Denis, TABE, tell us more about this.
Well, it is true. Thank you for raising that. It has been one of the objectives of the Popular Action Party for a coalition. And as I earlier said from the beginning, that we had a resolution, and one of our resolutions in Boya was to come up with a unique candidate, since that has been the cry of the people. And I think it is our political or constitutional will to also vie for whom we feel can bring that galvanizing force based on the present situation that we are facing. There's nothing wrong when we say it is time for an Anglophone, because people always want to mystify such words. When they say it's a time for an Anglophone, it's something more politically galvanizing. When they say it's a time for an Anglophone to see how we could test the leadership of historically, politically, people from the northwest and southwest, or we call the west of the Mungo, were known as the Anglophone. Can we test somebody who is a leader from that area? Because even majority of our brothers from the French-speaking zone have been vying for that. So I was happy that when we started with other stakeholders who have been vying for that, we realized that it was highly welcomed by so many political parties as well as civil society actors, that on the 28th of September, the Popular Action Party held a press conference to deliberate on what we earlier discussed in Boya, where we finally came up with the endorsement of Bâtonnier Keremuna as the unique candidate. With together, I think we had the UPC, the Univers Party, which has the legality to give the endorsement of Professor Kumvondo, gave that, and for some time now, it has been a very great, I can say, a great start of our ambition.
Do you think former Bar Council President Barrister Keremuna is the square peg in the square hole?
Good. Before, I'm happy with that question. Before we even came with that, I've had closed door discussions with him. He has presented a very good and elaborate program. I think he said it during the endorsement speech. Program. Yes, he made it. And Barrister Keremuna, when I was growing up, I admired him. He has been someone that has always stood his ground when it comes to corruption. He has a moral standing. He has that integrity. He has that credibility. In fact, when you discuss with Akere, the Bâtonnier, he is someone that has that galvanizing force.
I read many comments on his 8-point agenda, on his 8-point program on YouTube, a lot of comments in that perspective. But there were some few saying that Barrister Keremuna is of the old school.
I don't think, no.
in his 70s. So some were thinking that the Anglophone candidate should have been a younger person.
I am not of the school where I believe that leadership is determined by sex or age or class. leadership is determined by the caliber of person who you are, if you can deliver.
But you have been talking about the age of the President of the Republic. And
The age of the President of the Republic, I don't know, you just said Barrister Keremuna is 72. And we are talking about somebody of 92. I don't know if those age groups are of the same. Somebody of 72 in terms of management, leadership is still very, very fresh, intact to lead the people.
There's been an expectation of Cameroonians to see the opposition coming together in a common front. But when we have one coalition led by Honorable Jean-Michel Ninche presenting Professor Kamto as the best candidate, the square peg in the square hole, and then you have on the other side you and Univer and the other UPC presenting Barrister Kerimuna as the best, the square peg in the square hole, and on the other side we also have Cabral Libi saying that he supports the idea of a coalition, but his candidacy is already in the pipeline, and we have O.C. Joshua on the other side in the SDF. Why this division?
That is the sweetness of democracy. I think there is nothing wrong if we have, the fact is that when we say opposition, civil society should come together, you don't expect all. If 3 or 4 or 5 come together, and if that is the wish of the Cameroonians will judge. It is a democracy. There are people that I have worked with. Professor Kamto is a nice person. He has what it takes also. We have worked a lot. We had a lot of exchanges together. He's also someone that I respect. I think those who feel that Professor Kamto is of that person, I think it is okay. It's part of democracy. Likewise, I've not known Honorable Joshua when I say I know him, but we have not had a lot of exchanges and so on. We have never done so many things together. But I believe that the SDF, as one of the parties that have actually worked hard for our democracy, it should be also given a chance. I think what is more important is that at least there is that aspect of what at least Cameroonians, opposition parties are coming together. They could come together and form even 3, 4 different fractions in terms of coming together. I think Cameroonians, that would be more better. What about cases where we used to have about 25 candidates standing for an election and so forth, and the end the president, Bobia, Grace grabs everything. So if we can have even 2 or 3 solid coalition of opposition parties coming together, even 2 or 3, it's still something that we are all working for.
Thank you so much for
Thank you so much,
time.
my pleasure.
Thank you for the insight you've shared with us in this edition of The Insight.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure, and I want greetings to everyone. And I believe that from what we've just said, I believe you're going to a long way to create an impact in the life of Cameroonians. Thank you.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for today's edition of The Insight. You can follow the rebroadcast of the program on Friday at 5 p.m. You can also follow us on social media handles on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you so much for your time. Goodbye for now.